And there it is, your first two teams for the 2016 rollout. The pack is queer. This event has occurred every year since 2009, back at the George Bell Arena in Toronto's West End, and we've moved all the way here to the East End, a few stops up north at Downsview Park in between. This is the third year in a row now at Ted Reeve Arena.
And as we've been doing the last couple of years, this first game of this doubleheader will actually feature two 20-minute periods, so it'll be a slightly abbreviated game. And if you're just joining us, we had a bit of a late start. Just one of those things that happens when you have one of these fun events in an unfamiliar venue, just getting everything set up. So game
and
time
on a weeknight. It's a Thursday night.
It's a Thursday night. Now, it is a long weekend here in Toronto, in Canada, for anybody who's watching us from south of the border. Of course, tomorrow being Canada Day. And the bigger holiday, of course, is it's Pride Weekend, which is why we do this event when we do.
And now we have an unfortunate lack of view of the jam line to start things off here, but we will get you those jammers as soon as they hit turn number one. We are situated at turn number one, right next to the camera view you are looking at currently. Glitterazzi in the white. This is, and it looks like it's Mina Von Teese, who's skating today as Muffrajet, and she is the lead jammer.
And jamming for the Blundstone Brigade, number 4, Nick Nugget. Nick Nugget completing the initial pass. Pack is now rounding turn 1 to 2. Scoring passes in progress for both skaters. Jam gets called by Muffrajet, and 3 points are going to come in for the Glitterazzi, but 3 also are going to come in for the Blundstone Brigade.
Derby names are sometimes hard enough, and then when you have skaters skating under derby names to their derby names, it makes it all that much more complicated.
Aliases.
Aliases for aliases. Now that is going to be Argyle skating today as the Bye Who Shagged Me. That's an easy one to remember. Skating for the Glitterazzi. And Mercy D. Flower from the Orangeville Roller Girls, jamming for the Blundstone Brigade. Taboma in the box from Queen City. She made her debut here on this very track at last year's Fresh and Furious tournament. Back once again. Jam is now underway. Slowly creeping into turn one. Code Blue, the pivot there with some nice defense for the Blundstone Brigade, and that allowed enough space for Mercy D. Flower to get through and pick up lead jammer status.
And it looks like the Bayou Shagged Me lost a toe stop, and head referee parking lot kind enough to retrieve that toe stop, bring it to the Bayou Shagged Me, who's out in the ref lane at turn 1, who's trying to get that stop reapplied. But that means we've already had a grand slam come in for the Blundstone Brigade, and Mercy de Flower, who's now approaching turn 1. It's a small, tight 3-wall. You'll see the skaters in this game moving at a bit of a slower pace. Part of that's going to be these are some skaters who haven't skated together before, so they haven't had a chance to really practice. So they're really just getting their feet under them. This is also a game for the slightly less advanced. So we may not have any A-team skaters taking part in this game, but we have a lot of emerging talent here from all these different leagues.
That's right. Mercy D. Flower heading to the penalty box for the Blundstone Brigade, so power jam for the Glitterazzi. Yeah, a lot of, as I mentioned, Taboma, just a newer skater for Queen City. We've got the Bayou Shagged Me right now, who's just finished her year with the Divas, skating as Argyle. So eligible for Toronto Roller Derby's draft this year. But Code Blue, interestingly enough, with the pivot and dominant in the defense right now, does play for Durham Region Roller Derby's A team, the Atom Smashers. And we can see that experience playing out now as she is locking down some tough defense on this penalty kill for the Blundstone Brigade.
Yeah, nice drawback there by the pivot for the Blundstone Brigade, taking a Bayou Shagged Me all the way back to turn 4. Power Jam has ended, and Jam is continuing. Sorry, Bayou Shagged Me putting up another 5 spot, and the jam time runs out. So we'll see after all is said and done what kind of points are coming in. I see 4 points coming in for Blundstone Brigade, 5 coming in for the Glitterazzi. So scoreboard now getting updated. So it's 12-8 after, I believe, 2 jams.
That's right. If you've just jumped in, know those jams weren't really long. We're playing 20-minute halves here. This is a slightly less than regulation game to open up the 2016 rollout. Of course, Toronto Pride festivities really ramping up this weekend, but they've been going on for weeks now. And this is a nice way to kick off the Pride Long weekend here in Toronto. And it is, once again, Muffraget. I'll get some of these aliases before the night is over. Muffraget is your lead jammer once again. 2 for 2 now. Early on in this one, and a nice little move to the outside past Korshak up. And McNugget gives her 5 points.
Yeah, Venus Envy wearing the heart rather than the star. That's what the jammer covers are for this event. So Venus Envy still trying to get over the pivot line. A very tight 4-wall there from the Glitterazzi. And now we're seeing number 212 by Felicia going to the penalty box. They have to take the long way around. The penalty box for this event is at turn 3, the way this arena is set up.
And Venus Envy did take a hit, but it was a direction of gameplay from Lesbo Galkissian. And she's now heading to the penalty box as well. So 2 in the box for the Glitterazzi. Bloodstone Brigade with a bit of a pack advantage here, looking to get their jammer out. Meanwhile, the Glitterazzi on a big run, 15-0 now so far for them. Muffraget, the jammer.
Venus Envy slowing down a little bit, trying to get that knee pad adjusted. Unable to put up any points. Seeing 4 more fingers in the air. Looking for an adjustment to happen on the scoreboard, perhaps. There it is, 19-point jam for the Glitterazzi and Muffraget. Muffraget doing a lot of damage on the scoreboard thus far, I believe responsible for all 27 points they've earned thus far.
So a big lead, but look out. Blundstone now Brigade putting out Queer Blue, who had been pivoting previously. Her first opportunity up against Knockers. So Durham Region Roller Derby versus Toronto Roller Derby at the start line. It's a 3-2 pack, 4-2 pack advantage for the Blundstone Brigade, but Queer Blue makes quick work of the smaller Glitterazzi pack and gets through to pick up lead jammer status.
Knockers now trying to get around the inside line, does complete the initial pass. Now Queer Blue, though, gets taken to the outside by Felicia and Hoff, calls it from the ref lane, and no points for the Glitterazzi, but 4 more points for the Blundstone Brigade, so they're up to 16. Glitterazzi holds at 27 points. The second game tonight will kick off at 8 p.m. local time. So if you're not sure what time it is in Toronto right now, I can tell you currently it's 6:53. So do your math on the exchange rate on the clock. And the following game will come in at 8 p.m. That one will be a regulation length game.
Now this is a fun game. Oh, the Bayou Shagby almost snuck through on the inside. Did a nice little spin, but got knocked out. And she's up against Mercy DeFlower again. It looks like Mercy DeFlower could pick up lead jammer status. No, a back block. Second straight penalty for Mercy DeFlower. But the Bayou Shagmy picks up a track cut on the inside. That sends both jammers to the penalty box. No real power jams will occur, as both will get back onto the track. Now, this is a fun event. Teams get kind of thrown together last minute. I'm just noticing that 00, I believe that is Stabby Road on the Blundstone Brigade bench. Something that we didn't announce in the original roster.
Well, and not even sure if that skater is participating in the game or just enjoying the view. Things do kind of happen in flux, though, as you said, for an event like this, and no one's going to be really worrying too much about the paperwork. Bayou Shagmy ridden over the line and just stays clean. Goes back to complete that pass. Nick Nugget trying to do the drawback. So that was the initial pass for Bayou Shagmy. 4 points, though, coming in for Mercy DeFlower.
And now Bayou Shagmy hitting that back of the pack, and Susie with a nice knockout to put her outside. And Susie, a very experienced player as well, skating now for Renegade Derby Dames. Did spend some time with the Gorgo Roller Girls last year in Toronto Roller Derby. It is originally a South Simcoe Rebel roller. So now playing for her 3rd league.
Yeah, Bayou Shagmy still seems to be having some issues with the toe stop on this floor. It's a floor that maybe some of these skaters are not as familiar with.
Although most of the skaters from Toronto have at least skated here once at the Fresh and Furious tournament that happens every year. It's happening July 9th, next weekend. And that will be broadcast once again by layer9.ca. Get a glimpse of the future of flat track roller derby in Ontario and Quebec.
Bayou Shagmy just looks absolutely gassed at the end of that one. It's quite muggy in this building too. It's a another warm summer weekend in Toronto. But after that jam, your score is 37 for the Glitterazzi, 27 for the Blundstone Brigade.
Hoff's going to get an opportunity to jam. As we mentioned, the longtime skater for Toronto Roller Derby. Recently retired. This was her first season in that retirement, but back tonight with a few other retired Toronto Roller Derby skaters skating tonight as well in game number 2.
Well, it's the second year in a row that Hoff retired, but this time it took.
Yes, this time.
She was not allowed to retire last year. And Hoff, unfortunately, just goes over the inside line, unable to recover, cuts the track. This will be a power jam for the Blundstone Brigade.
Venus Envy heading to the penalty box as well. So the Blundstone Brigade will have this brief power jam, but they will only have 3 skaters on the track. All 4 Glitterazzi blockers out there for the D on the power kill, as you see right here at turn number 1. Nice little sweep from Queer Blue, but a nice reset there from the Blundstone Brigade. Mercy DeFlower has the star off, and it has been stashed. But there has not been an attempt at all to make a pass to Queer Blue.
Number 58, Slash Crotch, with a direction at gameplay penalty, taking a seat in the penalty box at turn 3.
Slash Crotch skates for Tri-City Roller Derby. You think after 6-7 years you get used to these names, but they still catch you off guard.
Well, part of what's happening, of course, is it's kind of a game on the part of the skaters to see what can they make us say and how far can they push it.
Actually, excuse me, this is the 8th edition of this tournament, not 6 or 7, 8 years.
They've got us questioning our math skills, too. Off, back out, coming in around lane 1 on the far straightaway, manages to squeak through, puts up a grand slam for Hoff.
So Glitterazzi now almost 20 points ahead. 19 points is the difference. 9 minutes to go here in the opening period. The opening game of 2016 rollout. The pack is queer. Derby Nerd, Mr. Whistler on the call. And that is Hoff for the Glitterazzi, bursting through and looking tired. This is a full 2-minute jam. There's 10 seconds to go.
Star pass now completed by the Blundstone Brigade, and that's number 934, Queer Blue, putting it on after Hoff already had 15 points. Jam, though, comes to its natural conclusion. A single additional point comes in for Hoff. It goes 16-0 on that jam.
Nice job by Hoff. Yep. 16 points.
Hoff did not spend a lot of time with the Jammer Star in her career at Toronto Roller Derby. And this is an event where people can try new things and try different things and can really run with it.
Although if memory does serve me correctly, her last jam in Toronto Roller Derby was with the Star. All right, now back on the line is Muffrajet, number 716 in the white for Glitterazzi, up against the skater we believe is Stabby Road.
Skating as Oliver Closeoff.
Oliver Closeoff.
Oliver, you know, Oliver
Yep.
Closeoff. So a late addition to the roster, wearing, actually the official number on the jersey is N00D for nude, but double zeros on the arms, and very quick 4-point pass there for Blundstone Brigade, so they're looking to get themselves back in it.
They've got a few ringers on the Blundstone Brigade. And we're going to see a lot of them, I think. There's Queer Blue now, who's just jammed and took a star pass and is now going to be out there with the Star. I believe this is Queer Blue's 3rd year skating. 2nd year with the Atom Smashers in Durham Region Roller Derby, and she'll be facing off against
Muffrajet, it appears.
Oh, Muffrajet, okay.
Yep. Number 716
Still
in the
out.
white.
Yes.
Skates as Mina Von Teese with the Toronto...
Oh, we were both fooled.
Oh, gee whiz. Number 412, actually, it's Shut Up Stand Up from Queen City Roller Girls out of Buffalo, New York. We have a few Queen City skaters taking part in this event this year, which is really exciting. It's a cross-border affair. Calling it from the outside between turns 1 and 2, unable to make the call-off stick. There's a back block penalty leveled. And this is now a power jam for the Blundstone Brigade, who have already put up 5 points and now are on the power jam. This is exactly what they needed at this point in the game, Nerd.
Yeah, and to have Queer Blue out there as well, working against a small pack. She makes very quick work of that defense on the far straightaway. As you can see, the nice overhead shot gives you a good view of the action there. You can see all 4 Glitterazzi defenders now setting up. The Blundstone Brigade hanging back, and there's Queer Blue attacking that defense again. Looks like the Brigade looking for an outside sweep. That's going to be tough on the turn. And Queer Blue unable to use it, but eventually makes her way through now as 1 to beat and makes it through just past the jammer line. 5 points for the Brigade.
Power Jam has ended. Shut Up Stand Up back out on the track. Now has completed the initial pass. It should lead to one more scoring pass here from Blundstone Brigade. That one's worth 4 points. So that'll make this a 19-0 jam so far. We do not have a lead jammer, so we still have about 25 seconds left on the jammer clock. It's like a misconduct being leveled against Venus Envy, Triple X on the Blundstone Brigade. That late contact. And folks, we are about to have a lead change if things continue the way they're going, except all of a sudden we're seeing some great defense here from the Glitterazzi. So they're just swarming Queer Blue.
Led by Felicia. Shut Up Stand Up is also picked up on that last jam and now is able to sneak a few more in before that call off. 3 more points for the Glitterazzi. So we will not have a lead change yet.
I spoke too soon.
But a huge effort there. 20-7 jam for Queer Blue.
Just like that, we have an 8-point game, Nerd. This is again, this is one of these events where you never really know what's going to happen, and you know, rosters are going to get changed at the last second, strategies are going to get changed, but we're starting to see the pace get picked up a little bit here at this point in the game.
McNugget now jamming.
Oh, a nice move on the inside.
Looks like Knockers had the pivot stripe on, so we had 2 pivots briefly as By Felicia's in the penalty box for the Glitterazzi, but they did figure that out. And now it is Negasonic Teenage Queerhead jamming, and not lead jammer status, but through on the initial pass, a 5-point grand slam there for McNugget and the Blundstone Brigade. Both jammers now eligible to score on this pass, and McNugget's going to allow Queerhead in for some points. And 2-1 for the Glitterazzi on that last jam. So Queerhead stealing one and coming out on top of that one. Last pass. Anyway.
Well, yeah, and of course, yeah, Glitterazzi started that one with 2 pivots on the track. And that's totally fine because the Blundstone Brigade started that jam with 5 blockers on the track.
Oh, well, there you go.
So both of those things got corrected before the pack reached the first turn. We are starting to see now more defense, though, and offense coordinated from both teams. We're seeing people, pairs starting to develop on the track. Oliver Klozoff now once again jamming for the Blundstone Brigade. Coming up around the inside line, almost getting around Malcontent, though, but a takeout into the infield, and now the big drawback, the big arms there from Malcontent saying, look at me, you got to answer behind me. Hoff, though, is jamming, also now stuck into the infield, and Queer Blue with the drawback.
And Malcontent and Oliver Klozoff continuing that battle at turn 2, but Oliver Klozoff eventually able to get the better of that duel and is through as your lead jammer. Hoff still trying to work her way through the pack. God, the names are just killing me here. Kalkissian heading to the penalty box.
Lesbill Kalkissian. I'm sure that means something. Star pass here on
Is it like Lando Calrissian? Oh, I think I just got it. Lesbo Galkissian.
Yes. We had a star pass at the end of that jam there. Star went to Malcontent. But the jam ran out, or the jam was called. There seemed to be some confusion. Nobody was really hustling to get off the track at the end there.
No, everyone just wants to keep skating. 62-61 is the score. 1-point lead for the Blundstone Brigade. Again, this is just game 1 of 2 if you're just tuning in, getting home from work. Sit back, watch some rare Thursday night flat track roller derby here on layer9.ca. And McNugget tried to sneak through on the outside by Felicia and Knockers working together to force her out. And instead, it's Muffrajet who is able to get through and pick up lead jammer status. Susie heading to the box on a multiplayer block. Knockers' last line of defense against McNugget, who's on a scoring pass, and McNugget through.
There was some nice in and out skating happening there from both skaters as they were kind of tag teaming each other as they went down the track. Jam gets called. 4 points come in for Glitterazzi, a donut for the Blundstone Brigade. So we're going to have a bit of a seesaw on the scoreboard. It's now 65-62 in favor of the team in white, the Glitterazzi. Minute and a half left on the period clock. Again, these are 20-minute periods for this opening game of RollOut 2016.
So could be in that final jam territory. Slight pack advantage for the Glitterazzi, 4-3. Susie pivot in the box. And Argyle with a nice little sweep from the outside in. A freeze. Chet up, stand up for lead jammer status for the Glitterazzi.
Yeah, Eaton Beaver, number 63, representing Tri-City Roller Derby, who's now heading to the penalty box, but not for what she did previously. With a nice move, trying to hold back Chet up, stand up.
Sorry, that is the Bayou Shagme. Queer Blue now. Around quickly. And working against Malcontent.
Riding the line is Chet up, stand up. Stays in bounds. Nice skating.
Malcontent was way out of play. Way out of play.
Going to the penalty box. High fives the bench on the way.
Malcontent skates as Malcontent Reynolds from Royal City Roller Girls.
So just dropping the surname for this event.
Yes.
Yeah.
Having a great game. Great opening half.
Yeah.
Perhaps a future star for those Royal City Roller Girls. One each in the box here for what will definitely be the final jam of the first period.
That's a bold prediction, nerd.
We just get it in time. I actually thought we weren't going to have time there for a moment, but it's Negasonic Teenage Queerhead jamming for the Glitterazzi and taking lead jammer status against Oliver Closeoff, who is only about 30 feet back. And Oliver Closeoff has the experience here. And let's see if she can close that gap quickly. A nice little apex jump from Negasonic Teenage Queerhead, and that gets 2 points.
Wow, they really nailed that landing.
Yeah.
Very excited about it, too. And that should take us to halftime. Officials just heading over to the scores table just to make sure everything adds up. But assuming that's accurate, going into halftime, the score appears to be 75 for Glitterazzi, 66 for the Blundstone Brigade. We think we have 14 and a half minutes of halftime. That could be subject to change. So
It
maybe
could be.
come back in 10 just in case.
That's right. So keep this rolling. We'll be back for Mr. Whistler and the Derby Nerd. Stay tuned to layer9.ca.
It'll just happen.
Welcome back, everyone, to 2006 RollOut. The Pack is Queer, Toronto's annual Pride Roller Derby event. I am the Derby Nerd here with Mr. Whistler.
Good evening.
Just about to go into the second half of our first game, a non-regulation game, 20-minute halves, featuring the Blundstone Brigade and Glitterazzi. There are 10 different roller derby leagues represented here for tonight's event. That's a pretty usual number for this event. Maybe skaters not from as far away as we've had. We've had skaters here from the Bay Area Derby Girls, from the Rose City Rollers, from DC Roller Girls, from Naptown Roller Girls. We've had skaters from away. This year it's a slightly more local event. Southern Ontario representing, Montreal representing, and of course Queen City. Queen City, though, is kind of an honorary Canadian team, really.
They're just down the highway.
And they've been involved in roller derby in this country for as long as we've played roller derby in this country. So they're always here taking part in our events, that we sometimes forget that they actually do have to cross a border to get here.
Well, we had a bit of a topsy-turvy first half.
Yeah.
As both teams took a few minutes to get their legs underneath them, but then it's turned into a barn burner. Currently, it's 75 for the Glitterazzi. They are wearing white, and 66 for the Blundstone Brigade in black.
You know, it takes a little while to get warmed up. It's a Thursday night game. Everyone's coming from work. Luckily, of course, it's a Thursday of a long weekend. Pride weekend is here, so a lot of these people just gearing up for what will be a very long, hot, and exciting weekend, I imagine.
Looking to see who we have on the jammer line for this one. I see number 58, Slash Crotch, jamming for Blundstone Brigade, who picks up a lead jammer. Number 716, Mufferjet, jamming for the Glitterazzi, gets around Gorshacked up, picking up her initial pass.
Nice little battle off the start there from Gorshacked up and Lesbo Galkissian. That was eventually won by Lesbo Galkissian, but Slash Crotch.
The Slash Crotch, I do believe it exists and is now in the penalty box for a track cutting penalty.
She does usually skate as the Slash Squatch.
Yep. So this the lead jammer status has dissipated. This will go the full deuce. It's now Muffrajet on the power jam for the Glitterazzi, who's expanding on the lead, already picking up 10 points on this power jam as everybody sets up between turns 3 and 4. See a 3-wall on the inside line with 1 on the outside coming in. They're waiting for that jammer and just anticipating that jammer to come out of the penalty box, so they're letting Muffrajet do her own offense right now.
Nice move from Muffrajet there to fake the pack to the outside and then jump in and slip through in lane 1 for the scoring pass. All 5 points on the Grand Slam there as Hoff with a nice exit hit on slash crotch. Forces her to reset, and Muffrajet with a nice little weave through that pack to get through for another 4 points. Muffrajet just finishing her first season with Toronto Roller Derby's Divas, and a huge hit out coming out of turn 2. Malcontent sent slash crotch all the way into the boards.
Malcontent looked up from the floor on her knees like, I think I did that. Yeah.
At least I'm close to the penalty box.
Yeah.
And Hoff with another exit hit there at turn number 1, as you can see that nice overhead shot as Muffrajet slipping through on the outside. Muffrajet with a big jam here, 24-0 so far, and a couple more seconds to get through the pack. She does 4 more, 29, excuse me, 29-point jam.
And then 4 points do come in for the Blundstone Brigade.
Yep.
But already crossing the century mark, the Glitterazzi, 104.66. An official review has been signaled. It appears being requested by the Blundstone Brigade.
That is
we're seeing
Meg Fengay.
Meg Fengay having some words here, being very antagonistic, which is not at all like that person.
No, not that Meg Fenway. It's a very heated discussion. Oh, there's a shoe being kicked off here. Meg Fengay now throwing another shoe and trying to keep a straight face. Squaring off against parking lot. Things are getting serious here at RollOut 2016.
This is Billy Martin territory, Derby Nerd.
Oh! There it is. I believe this may be your first expulsion since 2009. 8 seasons it's been since we've had an expulsion from this event, and I think Meg Fengay was just expelled from this bout.
Wow. I can't believe that just happened. I do fully expect that this will be GIFed repeatedly as the weekend goes on.
Now, I'm going to nerd out here a little bit of history. 2009, we had expulsions at the Clam Slam, a fight between Lock and Roll and Sista Fista, so it's not an unprecedented event here.
You know, I remember when that incident happened, speaking with Sir Refsalot, who was the head referee at the time, and you kind of went, oh, I guess this is actually happening. I have to go in and break him up. And it was so hot in that arena. Anytime he tried to get a grip and separate them, he said they just kept sliding right off.
It was a pretty playful fight, I should point out.
It was, yes.
But nonetheless, another expulsion here at RollOut. Things are getting serious here between the Glitterazzi and the Blundstone Brigade.
Knocker picking up lead jammer and is now the only jammer. Track cutting penalty being leveled to the Blundstone Brigade jammer, who went to the box so quickly did not see who it was. But Knocker coming around the inside line puts up the Grand Slam. So 5 more points there for the Glitterazzi, starting to make a lot of noise here in the second half.
This has been a great line for the Glitterazzi. Malcontent and By Felicia working the offense very nicely. Queer Blue also having an outstanding game, working the defense there on the inside. Couldn't quite hold off Knockers with all of the momentum that she had coming into that turn. And now goes out to in, but Queer Blue was there and ready. Now Mercy to Flower, working some defense as well, throwing Venus Envy in. And McNugget coming out of the penalty box just as that jam concludes. 5 more points for Knockers.
We saw the Glitterazzi setting up a 3-wall at the back, anticipating that jammer return. However, the jam ran out before they had to do anything. So after the 29-4 jam, a 15-0 jam for Glitterazzi, and coming out of halftime, it was a 9-point game, Nerd, and now it's all of a sudden become a 49-point game.
Yeah, explosive start here for the Glitterazzi. Let's see if the Blundstone Brigade makes some adjustments. They've got a few secret weapons on the bench. Let's see what they use for the star. Hoff, though, the veteran, is jamming for the Glitterazzi, coming up against Slash Crotch and Dilly Dally Llama. On the inside, Oliver Closeoff through his lead jammer.
Speaking of secret weapons, a weapon we didn't even know was going to be employed in this game is the lead jammer. Hoff completing the initial pass, but about a half lap behind. Oliver Klozoff very quickly tiptoes through the inside, puts up a 5 spot. Sorry, a 4-point pass, my mistake. So 4 points there for the Bluntstone Brigade. The way these events go, Nerd, yeah, we just saw Mick Fengay get expelled from the bench for the Glitterazzi. Would not surprise me at all if we wind up seeing her skating for the Bluntstone Brigade here in the second half at some point.
Yeah.
You never know.
Speaking of secret weapons. All right, it's Queer Blue now on the line for the Bluntstone Brigade. Queer Blue has had a lot of success this game, both with the star and with the pivot stripe. And let's see what she can do now, pushing against a 3-wall all by herself here at turn number 1 by Felicia, trying to hold her off. Now Chetup stand up on the inside, trying to work her as well. Queer Blue has pushed them all out of her way and pops through at turn number 2 for lead jammer status.
Meanwhile, Negasonic Teenage Queerhead having all sorts of issues with the defense being employed here by the Bluntstone Brigade. Knocked to the knees a couple of times, but they get back up, keep on trucking. A penalty being leveled here. It appears to be a forearm penalty. It's either a forearm or an elbow. Can't see from this angle on the track, but it's now a power jam for Negasonic Teenage Queerhead and the Glitterazzi. That is the longest derby name I've ever had to call.
Wow.
And with that apex hop, a grand slam for Negasonic Teenage Queerhead.
Negasonic Teenage Queerhead completing their first season in Toronto Roller Derby, skating with the Divas.
I'm just going to giggle and laugh the entire rest of this game, Nerd.
Negasonic Teenage Queerhead now working against a tough Bluntstone Brigade defense. And, oh, wow, coming out of the penalty box with star stashed, or heart stashed, I should say, is Queer Blue.
Well done.
And that was a scoring pass for Queer Blue. So 3 points being given there. Just a little late getting that star or heart on the helmet.
By Felicia and Malcontent with the tandem defense against Queer Blue. Meanwhile, Negasonic Teenage Queerhead being knocked to the outside, re-entering at the pivot line.
And Queer Blue now powering through the pack. Gorshak up and Mercy DeFlower in there trying to make some noise and split up a nice, strong defense from Lesbo Galkissian and By Felicia. By Felicia eventually able to push Queer Blue out. Both skaters, though, down, so that allowed Queer Blue to make that quick re-entry.
Also seeing the team in black, Bluntstone Brigade, swarming Negasonic Teenage Queerhead. It gets a bit of a backslap there from Gorshak up for the effort on that jam. So both teams putting up some decent points. Jam goes, looks like 10-7 in favor of the Glitterazzi. Your score now 129-81. 12.5 minutes left on the period clock.
So we might have some long jams, some big scores, but I can assure you there are no WFTDA ranking points on the line in this game. So those kind of strategies, if they are done so, it's purely to give these skaters some track time tonight. And Muffrajet now through on the inside for the lead jammer status up against McNugget for the Bluntstone Brigade, who's still in the pack and does get through, but takes a hit from Knockers.
But nice effort there by Nick Nugget to stay in bounds, containing the legs under the body, completing the initial pass. However, Muffrajet now rounding turn 3, comes up the inside line. A late takeout attempt there by Oliver Klozoff is unsuccessful. A successful 4-point scoring pass. Lots of words with the letter S in them. And 4-0 jam for the Glitterazzi. They're up 133-81.
Nice work here from the Queen City Skaters. Chetup Stand Up. That's an organization that's really done well for itself in the last few years. They now have a permanent home in Buffalo that they skate out of, and we're really seeing that league rise up into the top levels of women's flat track roller derby.
Well, and tons of experience this season because basically with their venue, they've been holding events and games pretty much every week since the spring. Like they're practically bouting almost every night, it seems. There's like another result appearing on the board.
Yeah, and their league keeps growing. They've got a 4-team house league, much like Toronto Roller Derby does. They have a B and an A team, and of course a smaller team. Track cut to Mercy DeFlower. She's joining her blocker, Queer Blue, in the penalty box, so it's a 4-3 pack advantage for the Glitterazzi and the Bye Who Shagged Me on the power jam.
Bayou Shagme coming around the outside, and nobody does it better than the Bayou Shagme, putting up a grand slam.
Only 3 blockers on the track for the defensive side of this power kill. It's Slash Crotch, Gorshacked up, and Susie. So Susie Sculper, one of the skaters who is skating under a simpler name here at RollOut. Thank you, Susie.
Yes, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Bayou Shagme taken out by Queer Blue and now driven to the infield. Drawback, there it comes, and drawn back halfway down the straightaway. Everybody's still tangled up at turn 3. Starting to see the offense and defense split off a little bit here and separate. Do have one Glitterazzi skater up at the front, and that is number 412, Shut Up Stand Up, running a bit of O.
So just past the midway point of this second period, and Glitterazzi cruising to a bit of a lead here, 146 to 81. Still lots of time for a comeback. We've seen some pretty big comebacks here at these past events, uHaul, Brawl, Clam Slam, whatever they've been called in the past. So don't turn away yet. This game is far from over. And it looks like it's going to be Oliver Klozoff jamming for the Blundstone Brigade up against Hoff for the Glitterazzi.
Oliver Klozoff picks through the inside line. Late attempt there by Knockers, who's actually Oliver Klozoff's teammate with the Gorgor Roller Girls, Toronto Roller Derby. Not saying there was any collusion there, just saying. But Oliver Klozoff now coming around the back of Freddie, looking to take the inside line at turn 2, bounces off of Knockers, puts up a 5 spot for the Blundstone Brigade.
If anything, I'm sure Knockers would love to get a nice hit in on her Gorgor Roller Girl teammate. Hoff through as well. Initial pass complete. 5 points already on the board for Oliver Klozoff. And she goes around on the outside for 4 more. Calls it off a 9-0 jam for the Blundstone Brigade.
Yeah, so that was one that they definitely needed. So they're now knocking on the door of 100. They're at 90. Glitterazzi at 146. 8.5 minutes left on the period clock. Quick shout out to the officiating crew, the skating officials for this game. We've got Parking Lots, Miracle, Epic Phil, Joe the Locksmith, My Ref Nut, OCD.
And they'll be sticking with us too for the second game tonight as well. So lots of skating for those guys. My Ref Nut will be head referee in game number 2, taking over for Parking Lot.
Bit of a spinorama corkscrew there by Shut Up Stand Up, who still is now got to contend with 4 blockers in the Blundstone Brigade. And up at the front, number 934, Queer Blue, picking up a lead for the Brigade.
Great game from Queer Blue. Nice breakout performance here. Her first opportunity to skate with this level of skaters, and really handling herself well. Although a track cut as soon as I said that. And that's going to give Shut Up Stand Up an opportunity for a power jam, and she is quickly through for 5 points.
Pack setting up now at turn 4. Front wall taken by the Blundstone Brigade. And now going to see a bit of an offensive move here coming in from Glitterazzi, and the door gets shut there by, I believe that was number 58, Slash Crotch. Slash Crotch always knows where to be.
Nice attempted offense, though, from the Bayou Shagme. Again, we've got the Malcontent and By Felicia on here, who have been very effective blockers for the Glitterazzi. A nice little simple sweep on the outside of turn 2 opened things up for Shut Up Stand Up. Negasonic Teenage Queerhead completing the line here on the power jam for the Glitterazzi. Back on the track, though, is Queer Blue. Initial pass was almost complete. But I don't think, no, it was not. It was complete, yes. So a scoring pass now for Queer Blue. 4-4 for both these skaters on that pass.
Yeah, still 15 seconds left on the jam clock, so we should have time for a few more lingering points to come in here as Queer Blue hits and gets through. And so it's a question of what can Shut Up Stand Up do before the jam time runs out. There it runs. Almost get a souvenir in the front row of the seats at trackside.
Nice exit hit from Slash Crotch, also saving 2 points on that.
Glitterazzi are calling a team timeout.
after going 21-8 on that jam. So they lead 167-98. Clock is stopped at 5:55. Assuming things stay on schedule, the second game of this doubleheader, which should be a full-length game, is intended to kick off at 8 p.m. local time, which is in 21 minutes. So given that we have almost 6 minutes of game time left in this one, don't be surprised that that one starts a little bit on the late side. And if you're currently watching this one and want to continue watching that one, it will be a separate feed, I believe, on layer9.ca. So go back for that game, same place where you found this one, and open up the second link for Game 2 when the time comes. And that'll be you, Derby Nerd, along with our good friend Pink Slaminade.
That's right.
Doing all the action, and I'm going to hit the beer line.
Yeah, as you should.
As I already have.
Big thank you to our beer sponsors tonight.
Black
Oak. Excellent local beer.
And Palm East Cider.
Yep.
We also have cider here at this event. If you're, by chance, at home right now watching because you just couldn't get out of the house on time, you still have time to get down to Ted Riverino, 175 Main Street at Girard. Tickets at the door are $15, cash.
Still 6 minutes left to go here in the opening game, though, and the Blundstone Brigade looking for a late push down, 69 points. And though it's going to be Knockers picking up lead jammer status. No, excuse me. No, a cutting call. Initially, lead jammer status was given. It's now been shifted to McNugget. The cut to Knockers will give the Blundstone Brigade an opportunity here for a power jam to try and narrow this gap. A big forearm or direction of gameplay. Name your call. On that one, we'll send a Glitterazzi blocker to the box.
Yeah, and a big hit there by Sailor Freddie Mercury. Earns a trip to the box. Lots of laughs like, yeah, that was fun. I'm glad I did that. Meanwhile, we've also got from the Glitterazzi number 647, Lesbo Galkissian making a toe stop adjustment at turn 2 in the ref lane. So that left the Glitterazzi pack very depleted. They only had 2 of them out there for a brief period of time. McNugget taking full advantage, already putting up 15 points on this jam. Coming back for more, takes full advantage once again, and that's good for 20 thus far in this jam. So here's that comeback starting that you talked about earlier, Nerd.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Knockers coming back too hot. Back blocks going back to the penalty box. Power jam continues for Nick Nugget. Nick Nugget already with 25 points, Nerd. Can she go for 30? Can she go for 35? We've got 28 seconds on the jam clock. There is time.
She does motion for some offense there and gets it, but Hoff was able to get ahead of that and delivered a big hit, which slowed McNugget down, but it was only briefly. And so, yes, another pass. 30-point jam, the biggest jam of the night so far, and she's looking for more with 8 seconds left. May have time. There's one. And there it is, a full pass.
Whoa! 35 big roller derby points. 35 big gay roller derby points, which are the only kind of points we have at this event.
And I told you, yes, never give up on these games. We've seen some Clam Slams be tied, or we thought they were tied, and then score adjustments later. We've had 1-point games. Last year at uHaul Brawl, we had massive comebacks in the last 5 minutes. So
we almost had overtime one year until the officials decided to take another look at the arithmetic and found that there was a 1-point differential. And we were like, could we just do overtime for fun?
Yeah, anyway.
You know?
I think the crowd was chanting for it that year, too.
Yeah.
Code Blue now out jamming and picks up lead jammer status. So we do have quite an exciting finish being set up here by Blundstone Brigade. Oliver closed off the pivot now, moves back to work some offense against By Felicia. Malcontent, last line of defense on the inside. Queer Blue goes to the out and calls it off just as Muffrajet hits the pack, and it will be a 4-0 jam for the Blundstone Brigade.
Look at this, 2.5 minutes left on the period clock, and we have a 30-point game.
And we just saw a 35-point jam.
Anything is possible and is extremely likely at this event.
Slash Crotch will get the heart for this jam now up against the Bayou Shagme. And it will be 4-3 pack advantage. Glitterazzi and the Bayou Shagme uses that advantage. And some nice work from her blockers to get through for lead jammer status.
Slash Crotch completing the initial pass, but is about half a lap behind. Should be a big opportunity for the Bayou Shagme to come around. Dipsy Doodle tries to get around the inside. Does not complete the pass. Slash Crotch, meanwhile, though, is completing a scoring pass of her own. Bayou Shagme now drawn back by Freddie and Venus Envy. So 4-point steal already on this jam by the Blundstone Brigade. And now it's going to be negated by the 4-point pass of the Bayou Shagme. So that one's a draw.
Yeah.
So this remains a 30-point game, but it eats up valuable clock time.
Exactly, yeah. Bayou Shagme very happy coming off the bench, delivering 5 5s to her team. 4-4, they'll take that, nursing a 30-point lead. Any even jam here is a jam in favor of the Glitterazzi. So 171, 141, a minute 20 left. Could be our final jam of this game. We'll see how it plays out. Queer Blue with the heart up against Negasonic Teenage Queerhead. And Queer Blue with another penalty, a back block, sending her to the penalty box. Some penalty trouble for Queer Blue late in this game. And that a big opportunity now for Negasonic Teenage Queerhead.
You did it. Yeah, Negasonic Teenage Queerhead, and I just messed
How about
that up.
NTQ?
NTQ. They are in the driver's seat right now on this power jam. All they have to do is skate clean, and that will preserve the victory.
Still, lead jammer status, though, is still up for grabs as well. Oliver Closeoff, though, with some nice defense here. Working well with, Dilly Dally Llama. Delivers the big hit.
Dilly Dally Llama skating as Eaton Beaver in this game, of course.
Oh.
And there's the lead jammers. No, lead jammer status almost awarded to Negasonic Teenage Squarehead, who now cuts the track, goes to the penalty box. This one's going to go with the duration, but we have just under a minute left on the jammer clock. Is that enough for 30 points out of Queer Blue?
Well, this is the skater you want on the track to pull it off, but it's going to be tough. There's 5. 44 seconds left to go. I'm predicting that unless Queer Blue has a speed in her that we have yet to see here, well, making that many laps in that little time is virtually impossible.
Well, basically, the Blundstone Brigade pack, what they need to do, of course, is just hold this pack at an absolute standstill and open up the openings at the same time, and it's just not happening enough. That's now 10 points, but with only 15 seconds left on the clock. Don't think arithmetic is in the favor of the team in black. Hoff taking a penalty.
It's hard to make that many laps without anyone on the track, let alone with people out there trying to hit you. Oh, and it looks like Queer Blue used a forearm to get through, and so she will go to the penalty box as the game concludes. Great effort from the Blundstone Brigade.
They do pick up 2 more points at the end of that jam. But the unofficial final, which is very quickly becoming official, as they're very official here. 171 for the Glitterazzi, 153 for the Blundstone Brigade. So a game that at one point seemed like it was a nail-biter and then seemed like a laugher became a nail-biter again.
Yeah, that's the way it goes here at RollOut. That's the way we roll.
Well done. I'm glad you said that, so I did not have to.
I think things are just going to get more punny when we get Pink Slam on the mic for the second game.
Oh, geez, yes. Hold on to your Mad Libs when P Slam gets in the seat. Seeing Glitterazzi now taking the victory lap.
Or the lap of love.
Slapping the hands, slapping the base. This was an incredibly fun game to call, which is why we had so much careless, reckless fun calling it.
Yeah, so stay tuned. The names are just going to get wackier as the night goes on, as they do here at the RollOut.
There will be some MVPs awarded following this game. Not sure how quickly that may happen. Trying to get a look at the track to see if there's any hint as to how and when.
If we don't get them to you now, we will get them to you shortly as we get set up for the next game. It does look like we're going to have a 13-minute break between games, so we're almost going to start Game 2 on time. It'll probably be about 8:05, so just after 8 o'clock we will get game number 2 here at the 2016 RollOut. The pack is queer.
And as noted before, we do believe that'll be a separate feed. So on the layer9.ca page, when you found this game, this was the first YouTube link for you to click. You're going to want to go back there shortly. Open up the second one for that second game. Of course, both these games will be archived later on layer9.ca for your later enjoyment.
Yeah, and as are all of the games from the history of this event, from when it was called the Clam Slam to the uHaul Brawl, you can find them all on layer9.ca. A valuable history of this event here in Toronto. And I have a feeling game number 2 is going to be unbelievable. That's the one great thing we've seen about this event. It originally started as a Toronto All-Stars, all-queer All-Stars, facing off against North American all-queer All-Stars. And it has...
The Vagine Regime.
The Vagine
right?
Regime, yes.
Yeah.
Regime Canada specifically at the time. And we've seen some absolutely amazing games. The level of play here in the second game is going to be incredibly high.
And, of course, in that game, we're going to be seeing skaters from a variety of WFTDA charter teams taking part. I see skaters from Tri-Cities charter, from Toronto's charter, retired veterans from Toronto's charter warming up.
That's right. And some Niagara Roller Girls as well. He used to skate on the Hammer City charter. We'll be playing there as well. So the action will ramp up in game number 2 tonight.
They are talking trackside about who the MVPs may be, so we're just trying to decide, are we going to pull away or are we going to stay? Don't know. We're just sitting tight. Everything's kind of by the seat of our collective pants here.
All right, well, I think we're going to pull away for now. We will get you those MVPs from game 1 at the beginning of game number 2, or we'll fit them in at some point. And I'll be back, but Mr. Whistler, you are done for the night.
Yeah, I'm hitting the beer line because clearly I have not done enough of that already. It's been a, we all come from work for this on a Thursday night, on a weeknight, but as you said, it's a long weekend. I'm going to make the most of it. I'll be heckling you from Trackside Nerd.
I'll be having my earphones on and trying not to hear it.
All right, so on behalf of Derby Nerd, we're going to say come back and watch the second game shortly after 8 p.m. local time. So in about, oh no, they've adjusted it, 18 minutes time to Derby.